Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. Today we are going to be looking at, it's an update video really, about Charcadet, Armarouge and Ceruledge, and the number of cards that they have had in the TCG, which is getting to a level of Pikachu or Eevee craziness. The Pokemon Company International seems to want to push this Pokemon a lot. I mean, it's a very popular Pokemon. It's one of my favorite Pokemon from Gen 9. So here is a look at where we are less than 2 years into this Pokemon even being known to us. We'll start with Charcadet. And Charcadet, the first artwork, was by Suichiro Gunjima and came out in Scarlet EX and the Scarlet and Violet base in English. So there are 3 prints of this one. The Nagamiso card also came out in Scarlet EX base. There are 5 Japanese prints of this because there was also a copy in the Venusaur Charizard and Blastoise special deck. There is the City Championship or City Championship Series 2023, which was a promo card in Japan, which is a holofoil. And then it was reprinted in Shiny Treasure EX with a reverse as well, the Sparkle reverse. In English, there are 4 prints, and they are the Scarlet and Violet base, regular and reverse, and then it was reprinted in Paldean Fates as a regular and reverse. Textually the same card, but with different artwork for the shiny version. Paldean Fates, we had this card by Masakatsu Fukuda, and that was the end of that one. So moving on, this one is Takuyoya, one of my favorite 3 artworks that we have here. And this one came out in Clayburst in Japan and was in Paldea Evolved in English with a reverse. The next card is Keiichiro Ito, and there are 6 prints of this. This also came out in Clayburst in Japan and in Paldea Evolved, English with the reverse. But then we have got 3 copies of it in English that came out in the Battle Academy in the Armarouge deck, and each one of them has a different number next to the little Armarouge symbol. I'll just give you an example of that. I won't get them all out, but you can see that it actually has an individual number of the card there. So they're very slightly different, but there are 3 copies of that. Saya Saruta's one was in the Fire Victini start deck in Japan, but it also has a Tanto hair products promo version, and that's the 2 Japanese prints of that one. But then we have the English one, which was in Obsidian Flames, in regular and in reverse. The next one, we'll just go to this one. This is Kantaro's Ancient Roar and Paradox Rift, regular and reverse. Whereas this is the Mizui one, and this was also an Ancient Roar with the regular and reverse in Paradox Rift. But there is also the holofoil version, Cosmos holofoil promo one, that came out in the Armarouge EX Premium Collection, I think. And finally for Charcadet, we're coming up to date here. So we have got the Koroguchi one here, which came out in the Japanese Battle Academy in the Sprigatito deck, and was in Stellar Crown as a regular and reverse. And then we have the Kariya one, which is my favorite of all Charcadet cards so far, which came out in the Ceruledge EX deck in Japan, but in English is in Surging Sparks, which we just had released last week in English, regular and reverse. And Surging Sparks also had this one, which had come out in Super Electro Breaker. This is by Mekayo, and it's probably my least favorite artwork, whereas this is my favorite artwork. I like this one very much. I like this one. I love this one, and I think that's very strong. They're all nice cards. As I say, it's a real favorite Pokemon of mine. I think it's just beautiful. I like all three of these Pokemon very, very much. So we'll move across to Armarouge, which has 26 cards, and I am missing one of them. So there are 9 versions of this. I have a hole here where my missing card is. This is by Akira Egawa, who most people are huge fans of, and I am not, but I quite like this card. It's okay. And it came out in Scarlet EX, the base set for Japan, and Scarlet and Violet. These are the Japanese ones at the top, so we'll look at those first. So the Scarlet EX, this was the Venusaur Charizard Blastoise special deck one, and this was the Shiny Treasure EX version. The English ones there are 6 of them. So there's the Scarlet and Violet base with a reverse. There's the Play Promo version with the stamp. The reprint in Paldean Fates. And then there's this missing one, which was only released in North America as a promo with triple blisters. And it's exactly the same as this card here, the basic one, but it's printed on the Sword and Shield holofoil, which is the lined holofoil with the downward lines. Otherwise, it looks exactly the same as this. I can't get it on this side of the Atlantic. It's very frustrating. I could pay a lot of money to have a single card shipped across, but I'm not prepared to pay the stupid postage. It's like $20 just to send one card, and I'm not going to do that. So that is that one. That was the Egawa card. Now there's also, this is the same text card, but this is the art rare of it, and this is by Nagamiso, which is just the most beautiful of our artworks. It's my favorite so far. And this came out again in Scarlet base and Scarlet and Violet base sets. And then we have the same card, but with different artwork here as a shiny one. And this is by Furusawa, and came out in Shiny Treasure and Paldean Fates. Moving on, we have Tsuchiro Gunjima. This card came out in Japan in the Fire Victini EX start deck and was in Obsidian Flames in English as a regular and a reverse. Then we have Dom's card from recently from Super Electric Breaker and Surging Sparks as a regular and reverse. And looking at the EXs that we've had, we had in Ancient Roar, we had the half art and the full art, both by Takuyoya, these two. So there's the Japanese Ancient Roars, and these were Paradox Rift in English. But the English actually had another print of the same text here, the Scorching Bazooka Attack card, that was in a Armarouge EX Premium collection. Japan hasn't had this print. It's got 5-band graphics artwork, but to be honest, I wouldn't know these were by different artists. They're so very similar. But there is no Japanese version of that. And the only other card we have here is the Planeta Tsuji card, which came from the Battle Academy in Japan and the Battle Academy in English. It was in the Sprigatito deck in the Japanese version. It was in its own deck in English. And it's not a very playable card. It's a very simplified card because that's what the Battle Academy does. Moving on to Ceruledge. And Ceruledge has had fewer cards than either of the previous two. There's only 17 cards. And for quite a while, there was only just this one card that we had, which is the Ryota Murayama card. Came out in Clayburst in Japan, and then was reprinted in Shiny Treasure EX in Japan. In English, it came out in Paldea Evolved as a regular and reverse. And then, right, let me get this right. There's the promo version that came out for Pokemon Day. There's the reprint that came out in Paldean Fates. There's this Cosmos Holofoil version, which came out in the box set with the other Cosmos holofoils. And then we have the same card but with different artworks, the shiny version done by Koiki Saito, which came out in Shiny Treasure and in Paldean Fates. And then recently we've had Super Electric Breaker and Surging Sparks. We've had this card, which is by Kantaro. And we've had an art rare of that by Rond, which is very beautiful. This is also Super Electric Breaker or Surging Sparks. We'll just have a look at how beautiful that card is. Rond had previously done Shikajika, Dealing and Lantern, I think. I didn't like their previous couple of cards anyway, but I think this is a very, very beautiful card. Incredibly beautiful. So I'm pleased that they did that one. And then we've also had these two, the Half Art EX. There is no full art because this came out in Japan in a deck of its own, a Ceruledge EX deck, and was reprinted, it was printed in English in Surging Sparks. Very, very playable card, very strong deck. Quite a simple deck to play, but incredibly powerful deck. So that is where we are up to at the moment. There are, as I say, a lot of cards for a brand new Pokemon. And I suspect there will be more before the end of the year because we've still got the Generations decks coming out in Japan and the Terrestrial Festival set. And I would be surprised if we didn't get a showing. Maybe just a reprint of a previous card, but there may well be something before the end of the year, and maybe some random promo or something. I will end up having to move this to a bigger binder yet again, because it just keeps growing and growing and growing, which is nice, because I do like the Pokemon very much, very fond of it, especially Charcadet. But the two evolutions, both very strong Pokemon, design-wise. And it's getting some really good artwork. So this is a lovely artwork. Let's just have a little look. That really is beautiful artwork. But as I say, my favorite is this one by Karya, which I think is just gorgeous. One of the cards of the year for me, actually. There we go. That's a look at that.